Yes, guys, and a welcome from me, Championship Manager 0102. I've decided to revisit a video, something that I did ages ago, and it proved a little bit of a controversial one, so I thought I'd do it again. Of course I did. So as you can see in the title then, exploiting the game. Now, exploiting CM, there are fucking loads of ways to exploit CM. And I'm calling it exploiting because using the word cheating is a dangerous word. Some people get highly offended by it. So, I'll start from scratch here with regards what my views are. Now, I'm going to just reiterate something here. These are my views, right? Nothing less, nothing more. Exploiting the game. There are loads of ways that you can exploit CM 0102. I don't like exploiting. That's the bottom line. I fucking hate it. So, what should we start with first then? Although, like I said, I'm going to cover a lot of things that I've done before. So, the first thing then, let's talk about WibWob. WibWob, you all know what WibWob is. It's with ball and without ball. In case anybody sees the word WibWob and they've often wondered what it is, that is what it is. It's WibWob. It's with ball, without ball, and basically it's just you can move the players. If the ball is here, you can move the players where you want them, and so on and so on and so on. So you can move it in theory into 12 different spots when you've got the ball, and then another 12 when you haven't got the ball. But as you can see, right, let's look at these strikers very, very carefully, right? Look at the strikers, right? So if I just move these strikers here, can you see the thickness of the circle has just changed, right? So now when I look at my overview, right, my overall 4-4-2, I know that those two strikers have been moved within one of those WibWob screens because of the thickness, okay? Now if I right click it, it gets rid of it. If I right click it, it gets rid of it, and they go back. Now, yes, WibWob, moving players with ball, without ball, is part of real life football. I get that, I'm not saying it's not. But the AI, the computer, cannot compete with WibWob setups, particularly on the ODB. Not so much on the update, but the ODB, it can't compete with it. And this is why I'm calling it exploiting the game, exploitation at its finest, because the AI, if you decide to do this, I mean, this is what I've seen somebody do, right? So let's go to let's go in the middle of the park, right? And you've got the ball. So what they do is they do this. They stick everybody, right? So you'll see now every player is going to be WibWobbed because they're all going to be moved. All the circles, as you can see, something like that. And then what they'll do is they'll replicate that sort of setup at every screen. And they might even move the goalkeeper forward like that. They'll replicate it like that. And the chances are, right, you are going to smash your opponent with a mediocre team because it's WibWob, and the AI don't have access to the same WibWob that you will be using. Now then, particularly on the update, there are a couple of formations that the AI have access to where the goalkeeper is WibWobbed and the striker is WibWobbed. But what you can do, now if somebody says, I'm going to use WibWob, it's not cheating, it's not exploiting, it's part of football, bollocks. Because it is part of football, but it is exploiting the game. So if you really want to justify using WibWob formation because it's part of football, then that's fine. You can have your CM set up where AI, the computer, also can use proper WibWob. Because sometimes in the latter part of a save, they'll go WibWob, but it'll be like a 5 at the back WibWob. It won't be an effective WibWob. Because some people, they've done a lot of WibWob challenges, and some people are fucking great at it. There's lots of different things that you can do. I don't learn it because I don't care, because I think it's just bullshit. It's cheating. Did I swear? So, if you're going to say, I'm going to use it because it's part of football, it's part of everyday football, so why wouldn't I? Then that's fine. Then have AI to have the same, make it a level playing field. Fuck's sake, Okay, so a lot of people, right, when you first load up CM, as you can see, you've loaded up CM, you've started, gone to your tactics, and you're on default 4-4-2. Now, this tricks a lot of people. The goalkeeper is already WibWobbed, believe it or not. And a lot of people have made a formation, right, they've made a formation, and they've emphasised that it's they've won 40 out of 40. And the first thing I say is, yeah, the only downside though is your goalkeeper's whip-wobbed. And they'll say, I haven't whip-wobbed the goalkeeper, and they probably haven't, because when you first go to it, the goalkeeper is already whip-wobbed. Look at, I'm going to right-click it, and you can see it's slightly lighter. Now, if you look at the default formation, right, the goalkeeper is whip-wobbed. Now, if you look at the difference, when I do 4-4-2 defensive, it's not as thick. Now, on the update tactics, the 4-3-3 tactic, it's a different one to this default, but the 4-3-3 tactic, it's something like that. That is a 4-3-3 tactic on the update. The striker is whip-wobbed on that, on the update. So I don't like that. Right? So what I do on my update is I have the AI tactic set up with no whip-wob. So they can't use whip-wob at all. The goalkeeper or that striker, in the interest of fairness. Because if I'm not going to have whip-wob, why should they? If I have whip-wob, they should. But that whip-wob is just one of many exploiting concepts of CM. Now then, I'm just going to put Thierry Henry there. Okay, so there are many other ways to exploit. Now, tactics is obviously the biggest, and that's where it all is. It's all to do with tactics. There's exploiting the game. You know, let's come away from tactics a minute, and this fucks me off, right? If I'm really honest. The editor, when someone they've started a game as Arsenal. Now I saw it the other day. Who was it? Somebody had. They had somebody. Was it Rushton? Could have been Rushton. It was Rushton, I think. And at the end of season 2, so they were only out of Division 2, and they had all these players, Ronaldinho. And I don't question it, because there is an element of play the game as you wish, but it fucks me off, right, when someone is saying how great their team is. They had all these superstars. I didn't need to say anything because someone had already done it, and they'd said that they'd gone to the editor and changed their reputation and gave them like a high reputation. And I just think, what is the point? What is the point? Play the game as it was intended, for fuck's sake. And if you're going to then say, oh, but whip-wob is how the game was intended, otherwise you wouldn't have to feature whip-wob. I get that. I totally get that. So play the game as it was intended. Level playing field. You know, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's a real can of worms. When I see somebody's achievement, it's all, my first question. I don't really ask a question anymore now because it's the same old shit. Is great stuff. What tactic are you using? And I see a whip-wob tactic. Or if someone is deciding to try and play sly and say to me, oh, I don't use whip-wob, and they don't, right? But they have a tactic like this, and I've seen this so many times, that will kill it. That will exploit the match engine. You've got no wingers. You've got a centralised tactic. You will exploit the match engine. There's no doubt about it. You know, and I remember once, not this season, last season, Leeds United in real life played a formation like that in real life, and some crackerjack on the forum stated, see, look, it is real life, Leeds United are playing it. And I tried to explain, I'm not talking about that. It's a bit like whip-wob. Yes, it's part of football, but it would exploit the match engine. And again, if you really want to play these sort of formations and feel that you want to justify it, then have the AI play the same formations. Let them have a centralised tactic. And if that weren't bad enough, you get someone who quite often says, this is my formation, I've got two wingers, and this will be their formation. Something like that. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. 2 at the back. Anything less than 3 at the back is not acceptable. It will exploit the match engine. That's a fact. And for those people that feel that this is justified, I'm going to show you, and I see this a lot. They say that is 4 at the back. That is 4 at the back. And that is Liverpool's formation. Yeah, that's Robertson and Trent Arnold running forward. That is not 4 at the back. That is 2 at the back. That will exploit the match engine. So when you show me your formation and it's something like that, and you've got 2 at the back, and you've just won 38 out of 38, okay, I'm not going to give you a medal. I'm going to say that somebody actually deserves it, because it's 2 at the back. I mean, for fuck's sake, you know. When I play my own games, network games, we have self-imposed rules, right? Non-wib-wob, minimum 3 at the back, 2 wide players, and even then, you could probably, even with those simple rules, you could probably work around it to try and get a centralised setup. But as long as you got a baseline of them, and that would be acceptable, okay? That would be acceptable. Even that would be acceptable, because you've got 2 wide players, you've got 3 at the back. And if you really want to try and exploit my own rules, right, and I've thought about it before myself, you could even do that. That way, you know, you're covering all angles. You've got 3 at the back. You've got 2 wide players. I think it's a dangerous, I have tested it, it's dangerous, so that formation. So, It is it's really frustrating. You could even, if you wanted, right, you know, to try and beat what I'm saying, is do something like that. You know, put yourself into, because when you put arrows, right, I'll show you something, right. Forget wib bob a minute. When you put arrows, so look at the wib bob screen, okay. So you can see it's all based. So it's all sort of simplicity almost. Okay. But when you put an arrow on, let's put an arrow on this player here. Let's just put an arrow going into, let me just put Henry up top a minute. If you put an arrow going up there, so that left midfielder, if you look at the with ball, now, you see that midfielder is actually moved over there. Let's pretend I was put this midfielder all the way over there. He's over there. So, the arrows do alter the wib screens, but it doesn't wib wob them though. It doesn't wib wob them at all. So if you are going to try and beat the system by doing an inverted centralised formation, right, like that, right? Yes, it becomes a central setup only on with ball. The arrows going forward are only for with ball. But without ball, they're not. They're not. Okay? And a backward arrow. If I show you, it has a reverse effect. So a backward arrow would not be enforced on a with ball setup, but on a with there you go. You can see the forward is right sandwiched into these midfielders. It's a touchy one. Okay, so that's another exploitation. Let me now talk about another one within tactics, and this one, right? This one's a hard one to prove. Okay, if you do marking, is when you get your striker, particularly if you've got one up top, and you get your striker to man mark the opposing goalkeeper. I fucking hate it. It's not a realistic statement in life. It wouldn't happen. So yeah, and you can't always prove it, to be honest with you. There is only one way you can prove if somebody is man marking the goalkeeper, and I'm going to tell you that in a minute. So the thing is, if I put a set of tactic up and I put Thierry Henry on man mark, right? When I start a game, he will not be. It won't automatically man mark the goalkeeper. It'll man mark probably a defender. So at the start of each game, they would need to go to kick off and then go to Henry and then choose. Oh, there you go. I can actually. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I can do it. Sorry, I didn't think I could. So there you go. So we're playing. The opening game is against Southampton, right? Paul Jones. Now, I would still do it at the start of the season, at the start of the game, if you're going to do it. It's fucking awful, because there's no guarantee Paul Jones is going to start, is there? And the bottom line is he will score goals. He will score goals. I don't care what you say. He will score goals. So there's always that one person, right, who has a whip-wob formation, right? They have a whip-wob formation. They have a 2 at the back. They have a centralised tactic, right? and it's something like that. And they man mark the goalkeeper as well. So you man mark the goalkeeper with Thierry Henry, have a whip ball formation with that setup, you're gonna kill it. Now, years ago when I used to play CM on the Amiga, the 93, yes, I used to do 3-3-1-3, I think it was. Something like that. That's exactly what I used to do. That Leeds United, similar to that Leeds United thing. It is exploiting it. I don't care what anybody says. No one can justify playing this formation if you haven't got AI playing on the same sort of concept. That's just the tactical side of things of exploiting the match engine. As I said, somebody started the game as Russian. They changed the editor. They were able to get players. What's the fucking point? What is the point? And this other one, I mean, fucking hell. When people add managers in, and then sell players, to their, what is the point? What is the point? So, doing what I'm doing right now, and this won't always work though, because quite often, particularly with the bigger scale players, the board blocks it anyway. But to my knowledge, let's just check. To my knowledge, the idea is, right, so I've released a load of players, and then we're going to retire. Just press continue once. Now, let's just have a look. Fucking hell, let's just have a look, see what's happened. If anything. Right, let's have a look at Man United. See if any of those players actually went. Yeah, so there you see. And that's what you'll get. That is what you'll get. You'll get people do that. So they add a manager, they retire him. Now I do stress they retire, because if you don't retire them, you could still, if you had someone save, you could still check. You can't check someone retired. So there you go. I can go and buy Roy Keane now at Arsenal, and he'll sign for 90 grand. It looks like Veron. And if you do it quick, right? Nobody else is interested. And this is just a plain example. I didn't actually think that they'd all release, but I think it's to do with you retire straight away. People think that some people think they're so fucking clever, right? Yeah, I managed to get Van Nistelrooy, or they'll say something like he became unhappy. Now the bottom line is, right, there are third-party programs that you can also change your saves with, as well as the editor. Right, you can change it. Now I believe, because I've never tried this, because I would never want to, because it's disgusting. You could save your game, and you could go into an editor for your saved game and move a player. So I could move Ronaldinho to Arsenal for £12 million, for argument's sake. I think you can change it on the history. And if anyone questions it, yeah, I bought it for £12 million, and they'd be none the wiser. But there are saved game editors, pre-game editors. You wouldn't get the evidence quite that you bought him. So, I mean, let me show you. Let me show you something else, if I can. Let me go and bid for a player. Just gonna do it on Luketti a minute. Another little flaw in the game. We've just tried it. I've just tried it on Chris Luketti, and I need to see the. This is another one that really bugs me. This really bugs me. Okay, so you offer whatever role, right? And if the player is not interested in you, right? They do that. Right? And they offer him the deal, and it fucking pisses me. And it's very common with it's very look at that. Roy Keane's just agreed. It's very common indeed. So I'm trying to get Luketti. So okay. Hang on, let me just let's just have a little bit of fun. and just release some shitty players for a minute. So, you know, you'll get it. You'll get these people that say, right, Luketti. So here we go. Look, oh, fuck's sake. So basically, I'm gonna have to try that. So, fucking bastard. Right, okay. So there you go. You can have Keane and Vieira playing in the same defensive midfield slot. How'd you like that? So let me just try that again. What I was doing just now. Let's do it. Let's do a different one with Luketti. It's because I'll tell you why. It's because I've just been given a whole load of money out, isn't it? Let's do it again with Luketti. The month-to-month contract, if you've heard of it before, this is what it is, where you are just offering a month-to-month. And as I said, this is very common with players that are not interested in you. Players that are not interested in you. And there you go, Luketti has agreed. So, okay, well, you know why that's happened, don't you? Okay, that's maybe look a bit of a lie there, isn't it? So basically, you get a player, providing it's not, I mean, I didn't really think, 800 grand is worth, we've offered 30 million, that was always going to happen, I didn't even think. You get him on a month-to-month contract, you then offer him a new deal, but it'll work on players not interested. So what people will do, right, if you've got the money to work with, right, they'll do it like this, and they'll see Christian Vieri. They'll offer Vieri. Let's say they've got 60 million. They'll offer 40 million. They've agreed, but he's not interested in taking terms. Now, when a player is not interested in taking terms, sometimes they'll still let you offer a contract, won't they? Sometimes they just reject the move outright. But if they're letting you offer a contract, offer that week to week, it's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's shit. I think they've sorted it pretty much on the update. It's so frustrating. Now, there are going to be multiple other ways of exploiting the match engine. There's no doubt about that. You know, and we could be here all day. I could be here all day whinging about how people play the game. The bottom line is, right, as I've said before, it is each to their own. Right, this is my honest perspective here, right? It is each to their own how one plays the game. But don't be broadcasting your fucking 38 wins out of 38 with your one at the back, man marking, goalkeeping, two at the back, one at the back, two at the back, whip-wobbed, centralised bullshit, right? And expect me to give you a pat on the fucking back. There is another element, right? In fact, I could show you. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call this next bit exploiting, but it can be a touchy subject. Let me just take these off the list a minute. And I've got one, which is why I'm going to show you. I thought I did. There you go. Oh, that's Mike Matt. Region track. Oh, I can't do it. No. So, oh, I can. Oh, okay, that isn't what I want. Okay, so people make shortlists. You start a game, you add players, and your shortlist consists of all the players. With all the players that we all go for: Mike Duff, Mark Kerr, Tommy Smith. You know, by the Sigalco, and so on and so on and so on. And people will load that shortlist and buy all the usual suspects. Now, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, there's nothing better, and I think I'm speaking more so here for Gary Johnson and Mark Whittaker. They love the concept of unearthing hidden gems. And I remember Gary Johnson when he found me this guy. Oh no, I've got a minimum database on the Egyptian, fucking great player. And he's got a real eye for it. Gary Johnson in particular has got a real eye to unearthing amazing gems. Now, of course, every save can be different. Remember that. You know, so it could be that they found a player, or you find a player, then the next save he's fucking shit. But, you know, I'm guilty of going for the usual suspects. I think to an extent we all are. You know, we all need a right back. My brother plays this. He tends to always go for Mike Duff. However, we're going to talk. Let's go back to the subject in hand. Exploiting the match engine. When somebody decides to buy Toe Madeira, fucking winds me up. Toe Madeira, right? And I see him in the squad. Really bugs me. He's not in, and the reason he's not in my game is not to do with my minimum database. It's because I deleted him out of the game because Toe Madeira is not a real player, and he's been made ridiculous. He'll score loads at any level. With the likes of Mike Duff, Mark Kerr when they perform heroics, even Maxim Sigalko, I accept Sigalko because he's a genuine player. Sigalko being a goal scoring machine is no different than Mike Duff being an assist machine at right back, or Mark Kerr being a dynamite, because, you know, no one knew, I suppose, in real life if they were going to go on to become those sort of players. Clearly there was some CM research into them, you know, it happens, but Toe Madeira is a different ball game. And so if somebody shows me they've got Toe Madeira as their main striker, he's done so well for me this season, he's scored 60 goals. Yes, well fucking done, cunt. So, Toe Madeira, yeah, so he's a no-no. And there's probably, I mean, I think they call them Easter eggs. It's like Easter egg players on the database. I don't think they were known as Easter eggs when this was first done, but I think they do that on a lot of the updates, which has a different meaning to it now. It almost makes it a little bit of a challenge. But the Toe Madeira on the ODB is not acceptable. Definitely not acceptable. So, you know, the editor, save game editors. CM Scout and CM Agent. Now, I've done a video on these before specifically. They are third-party programs that you can fire up your save and look. You know, I disagree with them. If I'm truly honest with you, I'm against them. For me, I think the way I've got my ODB set up, particularly with the fourth column, because that's a key column. I think CM Scout, you load up CM Scout and you can see all players in that are available, and what their PA is, what their hidden attributes are. But because obviously I've got a fourth column, I can see some of those hidden attributes. Injury prone being a massive one. I don't really care about some of the others. I'm against it. Now, I know some people are in favour of it. I had this conversation with Gary. I think, Gary, you're in favour of CM Scout. I think, Gary, to be fair, Gary said AI can go and buy a random player from a random country. Why can't I? Now, my perspective is, that's fine, then look or scout. Because whilst you've got CM Scout, if you're using it, it makes these just absolutely obsolete. You know, it's obsolete. I don't feel using a third-party program, or second-party program, shall I say, sorry, external program, is justified. Absolutely by no means. That is my own view. For me, and this is, you know, using CM Scout, I don't see how it can be justified. Now, there was a feature on one of Nick's patches. I don't know if it's still on. I think it's still on there. It's where, when you start a brand new game, you can load up every player in the database. Literally. Now, you'll see that when I look for interested players, it only tells me famous players in your region. This patch loaded every player in the database completely. It would take a lot longer to load the game, I should point out. So it wouldn't matter if you had all the leagues opened or not. If you just had England opened, you'd still have every player available to you, and they'd all be available on the player search. So many that you have to filter it down. If you just did that, it just wouldn't bring up maximum database, all the players loaded. You know, again, I'm not necessarily saying this is exploiting, but it would make scouts completely obsolete because you could find anything you wanted here. Now, the idea of scouts, for me, is I send my scouts out to a country, and then after a while, I look at what they find, and so on and so on and so on. I think the CM Scout's an interesting one. I know there's some people. I mean, you could argue CM Scout is no different than saving a shortlist. So I guess, you know, It's a tricky one. I think also CM Scout though, if you're someone that uses CM Scout, then you surely cannot say it's legitimate if you're playing a network game or a multiplayer game of some kind. I'm against CM Scout, and I think there's another one, CM Agent. I think there's more. There's another one, and I read it. It's the Dirty Editor. I think I want to go. It sounds like a porno. It's something to do with. There's Dirty Editor. And there's another one where you can edit a saved game live, and I've never. I wouldn't want to fuck around with it. I really wouldn't. I just don't know why you'd want to do it. You know, I know that there's some people that have said they use it to build their capacity because the character keep blocking it. So they go into the editor and they do it that way. For me, it's still a no-no. It's still a no-no. Simple as that. I think Nick made a patch to try and rectify that, but it hasn't been quite successful. It's a bit like saying the goals dry up in the Premier League, so I'm going to go into the editor and make my striker, all my striker regens with finishing fucking 30-40 because you can have those, that uncap in the 20. You just don't do it. You know, it's not for me. It's not for me. I've seen it where people will go into the editor, even mildly, and they'll put Klopp and Mourinho and Guardiola as their coach of their team. And then they'll put a post up saying, look at this for a fucking coaching setup. Now I know for a fact, right, that if someone is a registered manager, right, and this would be part of exploiting. I don't care what anybody says. This would be part of exploiting. So, if someone is unemployed here, I can't do it, can I? Fuck. So if someone is unemployed, and he's if Klopp is unemployed, and you try and get him as a coach, right? See, now he wants to be either an assistant manager or a manager. He's not even entertaining terms. So, and that's what it would say with Klopp. It's exactly what it would say with Klopp as well. See, actually, he'd probably take that. But this is my point, you see. It is all contributing. I mean, Alex Ferguson. If somebody was to say to me, I took over. Oh yeah, sorry, I took over Man United, didn't I? On that thing to do that test. So Ferguson has a sacked. I don't like that. I don't agree with that. And if somebody says I got Ferguson, well then you're lying as well. You know, there's so many fibs. There's so many fibs going about, right? It's quite painful. So yeah, you could get Wenger and Alex Ferguson if you wanted. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You know, and anyone that does it, you're dapping with the editor. I know you are. So don't embarrass yourself. Yeah, don't. You know, if you're going to do it, just fucking say it. To be fair, I did a game review on, I forget who it was. I want to say it was Mike Evangeli. And I questioned something that he'd been using. And to be fair to Mike, right, he goes, I've got to be honest, yes, I do that. And I respect that more than I respect someone not fucking saying it, if I'm truly honest with you. So that is CM exploiting the game, the match engine. There probably are numerous other things that you can do. So if you've got any ideas, let me hear them. Share them with us. And if anyone disagrees with anything I'm saying, let's go. Right, till next time from me, guys. Take it easy.